Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Theocracy with Theo Snodgrass. I'm your host, Theo Snodgrass. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, I look. It's been a crazy day for me. For those of you that don't know, my name is Theo Snodgrass. I'm a comedian and podcaster out of Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh man, it's fun. I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time. I'll tell you why I'm happy. I went to this Kill Tony kind of thing yesterday. It went well. We'll get into that. Yeah, I'm out in I'm out in Las Vegas. I was having kind of a slow comedy day, so I sent a bunch of messages out to a bunch of comedians that I know, seeing if I could get on some stuff, trying to put some stuff on the calendar. And I sent a message to my good pal Kool Aid. Shout out Kool Aid. Go ahead and check him out. He's incredible. He's incredible, credible comedian. And I hit him up, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm at the LA Comedy Club over at the Strat, which is the Stratosphere Hotel and Casino." And he was doing a show out there, and he was like, "Come out there and check out the show." So I went out there. He introduced me to some people, introduced me to the manager, whatever. It was really cool. And then he's like, "Yo, I'm judging this Kill Tony thing." Over it. It's not a Kill Tony thing. It's called John. So for those of you that don't know, pretty much every city that does comedy now has a Kill Tony clone that's emerging. And Vegas has a lot of people who are like very big who like come through town and do comedy, but the local scene is like there's not a lot of places uh that are you know uh grooming talent. There's a couple. You got Wise Guys. Shout out Wise Guys. But for the most part, LA Comedy Club does a little bit, but for the most part, there's not that many places who are trying to transition people from, you know, from the open mics to working talent in the city. It's kind of about who you know. Now, since I came out here, I already had road experience. I was already a working comic when I came out here. It was like it was just a question of like introducing myself to everybody. So I went to this thing. It's called Johnny's Buckets. Shout out Johnny Green who runs it. He's a cool guy. Jewish, so I know some of you aren't into that, but I promise he's a good guy. And he's he's dope, man. He's a cool guy. And he runs this thing over at Dive Bar. Basically it's like Kill Tony, but instead of like a regular band and like regular hot chicks, it's like a this super divey, like it's literally called the Dive Bar. It's fucking dope. It's a dope venue. You got to check it out. If you come to Vegas, you got to check it out. It's a punk bar. So instead of like regular hot chicks, they've got like hot goth chicks in there doing everything. It's pretty intense. It's pretty gangster. Of course, I don't go in for that kind of thing. I'm a Christian. I'm there for the comedy. But if you're there for the scenery, I can't recommend it uh highly enough. Anyway, so my buddy Kool-Aid, he was like, "I'm sitting on the panel, I'm judging, come out, do the show, they're gonna love you." And I was like, "I don't want to." And he was like, "Do it anyway." And I said, "Okay." And so I did it. So those of you that don't know, Kill Tony, here's how it works. You put your name in a bucket, they draw your name out of a bucket, and then you do like a minute of comedy. And this show, the only difference is you do like a minute of comedy, and then if they like what you're doing, they just don't stop you, and you can do like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever, depending on how much they like you. Right. So it was a fun show. There was one guy there that I'm honest to God afraid he's gonna kill himself. I'll be real. He's so he goes up there. Listen, he goes up there. I talked to him before the show. He was kind of a sad sack where he was kind of drinking at the bar. I'm sitting there, I'm having my Diet Cokes, minding my sweet Christian business. He's there just pounding drinks, and he's like, "I'm gonna do a set about how my mom died." And I'm like, maybe don't is what I said, but nobody listens to me. So anyway, he goes up there and he says to the band, "All right, I need a funky ass bass line." He's just shouting out directions to the musicians, and they're playing it. And then the music is going, and it's like sexy and gangster. And he's like, "So my mom died." And it was like, boom, that got a big laugh. I wanted him so badly to kill after that, but he did not. He told this like long, rambling, very sad story about how his girlfriend reminds him of his mother. And it gave everybody like a super Oedipal vibe. And also, we were all genuinely worried that this man was going to take his own life after the show. So it was not good. It was not a good look. It was not a good look. But yeah, no, there were hot goth chicks there. So I guess that was fine. I know some people in the audience are going to be a big fan of that. Shout out to Frosty. I think she's Frostbite on Instagram. And shout out to Ivy. I don't know what she is on Instagram. But if you want to see their butt cheeks, they're all over Instagram. So go nuts. Yeah, it was cool. So anyway, I got up there and I just like, I know I did the bit that I would do if I was ever on Kill Tony, which I don't intend to be because I don't really like that format. And I'll tell you why. So Kill Tony has created kind of a gold mine or gold rush in Austin where people will go out there and they're like, everybody thinks they're going to be like instantly famous. And to be fair, that has happened to a few people, but it's like the overwhelming majority of people that are standing in line are doing it not because they want to get good at comedy, because they want to be famous. And like being funny for 60 seconds and being funny for an hour are two very different things. It's a completely different skill set. And my goal has always been to be funny for an hour. I want to be good at comedy. And part of being good at comedy is like being able to go to a city that's not your own and stand in front of a bunch of people who do not know who you are and make those strangers laugh. And that's what stand-up comedy is, really. And, they don't promise you riches. They don't promise you that people are going to like you. There's a lot of adventure, and there's an opportunity to make people happy. That's what you get if you do comedy. That's what's promised to you. That's it. And that is, to me, the Kill Tony thing has always been like, hey, I really want to be famous and I want to skip the line and I don't want to do the work of actually getting good at comedy because that takes a long time and you got to like eat a lot of shit. And Kill Tony just allows you to skip the line. But anyway, this show's not as big as Kill Tony, obviously, but it's basically, it's a similar idea. And nobody's really doing anything like that in Vegas. And it's also like kind of got like a punk rock ethos to it, which is kind of fun. And nobody's really doing anything like that in Vegas. Like nobody's really pushing local content. Everything out here, this is one thing, everything out here is catered to tourists. Like nobody is really handling the local population. There's millions of people who live out here that are locals that are just completely neglected by the local entertainment scene. And here's the thing, the Strip is for tourists. That's where tourists go to hang out. People from out of town go out there. People who are local don't go to the Strip for entertainment. They want to go to a local place. They want to go to some place where people actually know who they are, where there's a community, just like everywhere else in the world, right? And dive bars like that. Like people, they got regulars. There's people, they know who they are, and all the like the bartenders are like Suicide Girls and stuff. So it's kind of like a gangster ass vibe in there. It's cool. It's dope. It would look completely different with the lights on though, because they got a bunch of weird shit on. Like they got deer mounts on the wall. They got a raccoon mount. They got a bunch of taxidermied animals in there. So I'm like, hey, yo, what the fuck? That's not what is going on in here. But it's cool. I like it. So I got up there and I just did my material, and basically I was one of two comics there who looked like they had done comedy before. I just did, a lot of and I'm not shitting on them. It's just a lot of guys are new and they're newer to it than I am. Like I'm several years in at this point. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I started when I was a teenager. So it's not a big deal for me. And I do shitty rooms on purpose. No offense to Dive Bar. The Dive Bar is not a shitty room, by the way. No, that's not what I'm talking about. When I talk about a shitty room, when I use the term dive bar, I'm actually like, even though it is a dive bar, but it's not the diviest dive I've ever done comedy in. Like when you talk about doing a bar show in comedy, like if a booker books you for a bar show, they'll tell you it's a bar show and they'll go like this. And what it's a bar show means you're not guaranteed that anybody's going to show up. You're not guaranteed that anybody's going to pay attention. You're not guaranteed that anybody's give a shit. The people who do show up may not even know comedy is happening that night. That's what a bar show is. So, and you're going to make hardly any money. And then you're going to get, maybe you'll get a cheeseburger and they might comp a couple drinks, right? That's what a bar show is. So dive bar it's called the dive bar, but it's really not. It's got a cool vibe. It's like got a dive bar aesthetic, but it's actually like a super dope place. And I will say though, go to the bathroom before you go, because their bathroom is fucking gnarly. I had to take like a life altering pre-show shit in their bathroom, and it was just, oh my god, because my diet is just 100% like meat and eggs and fruit. So when I shit, it's like I lose like 5 pounds of body weight in one swoop. It's just boom, and it's just instant. And I had to go do that, pre-show. You get the jitters, and I had to do it in that bathroom. And that bathroom is not for the faint of heart. It's just covered in like fucking band stickers and profane graffiti. And there was literally cocaine dust left on the toilet paper dispenser. It was literally still there. People openly joke about going to the bathroom and doing coke there, which I know for some of you that's normal. For me, I don't do that. I'm not in that life. So for me, that's gnarly. But yeah, it's like the cocaine scene out there is pretty gnarly. But anyway, now in Minecraft. Sorry, YouTube. My bad. I know we're not supposed to talk about that on YouTube. My bad. Tune in on Rumble. Anyway, so I went up there and I did my bit. This is a bit about like being short, basically. I did that. And then it was cool. I mean, it was cool. It was received super well. And I didn't know this. I thought it was just like an open mic or whatever. I didn't know. I just didn't have anything to do that night. So I was like, all right, whatever. I'll go out here. And my buddy Kool-Aid invited me because he was judging the panel. He's kind of a big deal regional headliner out here in the Southwest. So he's kind of known. He's from Texas, and he works in Vegas and Arizona and California, Utah. He's kind of around the Southwest, and he's been all over. But he's kind of, he's a pretty well known regionally. He's got a special on Amazon. He's got a special on Tubi. So he's a pretty well known guy, and I've opened for him before. So he was nice enough to invite me to a show. He got me in for free, and then he's judging the show. So I went up there, did my wet set, whatever. It went pretty well, which was not a surprise to me. I'm playing the hits. So it's like I'm playing fucking, Freebird or whatever. It's like I know this is gonna do well. So it wasn't a surprise to me. I wasn't doing like new material. So it went good. And it was funny. I said, I was basically talking about being 5'7", and one of the goth chicks, shout out Ivy, she's sweet. She was like, "You look 5'9" on the stage," and I was like, "Thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate you." And she was super nice, which I appreciated. That's not really a compliment though, because it's like, this is what I'm saying. It's like I don't think that the short thing is actually about the number. I think it's about the presentation, because it's like, confidence is still king. Anyway, the judges were super nice to me. They said I looked like Aragorn had transported to the present day, and I was like, that's very nice, thank you. And then, but it turned out there were two guys there who actually book shows, which I didn't even know. They said that. But here's the thing about comedians who want to hype up their open mics. They will always like lie and say that they're bookers at the show. And they might even have somebody sit in the corner with a notepad. Like, just because they say there's bookers at the show does not mean that there are bookers at the show. Like, so I didn't go up with the expectation. I went up with the expectation that I was going to do 2 minutes of comedy. I was going to hang out with my buddy Kool-Aid, and then that was it. Like, I didn't have expectations for how this was going to go. But then there were two bookers at the show, and the guy was like, bro, hang around after the show. We got to get in touch. I was like, all right, cool. And so I hung around after the show. And so I'm going to be looks like I'm doing a set this Friday at Planet Hollywood, which is at one of these casinos. Let's see. Hold on. It's at one of these. I probably should have looked this up before I went live. Yeah, Planet Hollywood. So it's a resort and casino out here in Vegas. Anyway, all the casinos got a comedy club out here. And basically, if you're a comic, you want to be in the casinos. So I met all the people at the LA Comedy Club over at the Strat, and then I'm going to be doing a set at the the Planet Hollywood this Friday. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty cool. I'm happy about that. Yeah, and I met a bunch of people. So he's kind of like, he's very plugged in. Johnny Green, shout out Johnny Green, cool guy. He's very, very, very plugged in to the scene out here, where he sees the potential with the locals being neglected in favor of the tourists. And he's like, I want to market an entertainment product to locals, and it will grow. People will come for it because people are hungry for it. Obviously, the Kill Tony model is super successful, and he's putting a twist on it. It's like Kill Tony with a twist. I mean, the selling point of Kill Tony is that it's, connected to the Rogan sphere, really. And this is like something completely different. This is like uniquely Vegas. It's like edgy, it's grimy, it's fun. You got hot chicks jiggling and all that stuff. So yeah, it's super Vegas, man. It's Vegas, but it's like off strip Vegas. It's like, I think that show, the thing, I mean, I'm not going to shit on, like, obviously Vegas has some of the best entertainment in the world. So you can't shit on like on strip shows, but for a lot of people who are local, getting to the strip and seeing those kind of shows, one, it's expensive, and two, it's like it's just a giant fucking hassle, because you have to get down there and you have to deal with parking, and everything's so expensive on the strip now. You got to pay for parking, you got to find parking, you got to, it sucks. It sucks for people that are actually, resident. They're looking for a place with a parking spot where they could go to catch a show. And people like the Kill Tony format, for better or for worse. People like it. I personally do not see the appeal. But for me, it's like, I want to see, I would rather than see, 10 or 12 guys be funny for 2 minutes, I would rather see, 3 or 4 guys try to be funny for 20 minutes. That to me is, that's actually the that kind of stuff is going to actually improve your skills. So that's what it's about for me. It's about the actually, getting better. But yeah, I was really surprised at how well it got received. Like, the panel really liked me, and they linked up with a bunch of people, and they put me on some stuff, which was cool. I mean, I wasn't expecting that when I went in. Like I said, this morning when I woke up, early yesterday morning when I woke up, I had nothing to do. And so I sent out a bunch of messages to people I know in local comedy, tried to like book something, and then it just kind of turned into that. Like, I wasn't looking for it. And so that was a cool opportunity. I guess the moral of the story is it's good to be friends with people, because people, it's just funny. I was talking to Kool-Aid because I don't know him super well. I just like, I done some shows with him, and he was like, all right, man, I'm trying to get to know you. So tell me, what do you nerd out about? What is something about you that you're interested in that you're afraid to tell women? And I mean, those of you who know me, fans of the show, mean that I don't know that I don't, I'm really not afraid to say anything to women, but I decided to play along for the sake of the hypothetical. And I was like, I like Dungeons and Dragons. And he was like, oh, bro, that's dope. He's more of like a video game person, but he's played tabletop before. So it was not a completely foreign concept to him. So it was dope. Gotta, bonding with people. We got to get Kool-Aid on Touchgrass at some point. We got to get him on a panel, because he's a super funny dude. So his story is great. He originally moved out to Texas to live with Jake the Snake. And I don't mean Jake the Snake like a male prostitute in Vegas. I mean the Jake the Snake, the retired WWE wrestler. So yeah, he's got a crazy story. I'm not going to spoil any more of it. I'm not going to bury the lead anymore. I'm just going to wait for him to be on the show, because it's going to be fucking incredible, man. But yeah, no. So my bit was about being short, and then of course Ivy, shout out Ivy, sweet girl. She was like, you look 5'9" from the stage. Just like, it's like, thanks. Which it meant, I think she meant well, but this is the kind of abuse that short kings have to deal with in this society. But by the way, stop fucking calling me a short king. I didn't ask you to do that. That's fucking patronized. I'd rather be called a manlet than a short king. I've always been clear about that. Stop using that term. It's condescending. It's like calling Lizzo a skinny legend. It's like, she's neither of those things. Stop. This is a true story. I tell the story on stage, but it's actually true. When I went to the doctor's office one time and the nurse took my height and she apologized to me. She's like, "Oh, sorry, we don't round up here." And I was like, I didn't ask you to do that. You did not have to say that. Nobody, I did not invite that. Anyway, let's say hi to the chat real quick before I get into today's main story. We got Strider's here. What's up, buddy? Strider's here. Watcher X, what's up, bro? How you doing? Runaway Vagabond is here. What's up, buddy? Oh, shit. Professor Savage Dad is here. What's up, buddy? What the fuck is this hair? Where is Theo? A drunk hippie took over the stream. I just don't have my hair up yet. No, that's okay. So I'll explain why my face is shiny. So I went outside earlier, so I had to put on sunscreen. That's what happens because my ancestors evolved in Ireland where things are a lot cloudier, and now I live in the desert where, if we're being honest, no human being should live in the desert. Anyway, so now that's why it looks like I'm shiny. Let's see. And let's see. Let's actually move this out of the way of my face. There we go. How we doing? Is that good? That's good. All right. What's up, Weasel, friend of the show? What's up, buddy? Let's see. Let's see. I knew, bro. Vagabond, I knew you would perk up when I said goth chicks, bro. I promise you, bro. I'm gonna get you out here next time. Next time you're in the city, let me know, and I will take you to Dive Bar. We'll get some kind of comedy thing going down there, and you guys can you check it out because I promise you are gonna love Dive Bar. They literally, like, what they do when they're cleaning up is they just have they just have a DJ playing, and then the just goth girls jiggling. There was one girl who was like dressed like a slutty nun, which I had very complicated feelings about, by the way. As you know, friends of the show will know I'm a devout Catholic, so that was like hit me right in the mommy issues. I still think you should have got an invite to Riyadh. Yeah, I wish I would have gone for sure. Yeah, I know it's like, oh, we shouldn't do that because they did 9/11. It's like, no, not if you're going to give me $350,000. No, I will go 100%. Yeah, 100% I would go to Riyadh. Let's see. All right. Oh, God, there's so many chats. All right. Will they spit my string for me? You can definitely ask. There were a lot of references to, mouth spitting and stuff like that. Would you rather be spiritually short? Good point, Weasel. And that actually is a great transition to what we're going to talk about today. Did you guys see that AOC got in trouble for body shaming? Isn't that interesting? And as we know, fans of the show will know that people on the left do not play by any meaningful rules. The rules exist for them to punish other people. The rules do not exist for them. And by the way, if you disagree with them politically, then all bets are off. They can say anything they want about you. So let's go ahead and pull up the video. This is going to be fun. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Let's see what AOC has to say. Go ahead, sweetheart.
He is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible. Like, laugh at them.
So for the record, she's talking about Stephen Miller, who's this guy. Stephen Miller, for those of you that don't know, is a high-ranking official of the Trump administration, and he's guiding a lot of the policy around like immigration and stuff like that. So go ahead.
Laugh at them.
Well, we knew that her brain didn't work. Now we know their eyes don't work. So
I gotta be honest. This guy is really hard to like. Like, I know that he's trying to make America great again, and I appreciate that. And I understand that we gotta have some kind of like manlet solidarity. I understand that we have to stand up again, but this guy is just, oh my God, he just looks like he's covered in a thin layer of slime. But that is not what this is about. Go ahead, Stephen Miller.
It's a mess, right? What a train wreck. What a train wreck.
I
think the important point is that every time she's on TV, Republican approval ratings go up, Democrat approval ratings go down. That lady is a walking nightmare.
You're about, I know you for 20 years. You're about 5'10", 11. About 5'10", yes. So 4'10".
Yes.
So he's not even short. He's not even short. This is what I'm talking about. Height inflation is completely fucking out of control. 5'10" is a short king now? God damn, dude. All right, hold on. We're gonna hide this on stream real quick. I'm gonna pull up another video because I have another one I want to show you. But holy shit. Anyway, this is Jesse Waters also had a fun little take on this, so we're gonna pull this up real quick. Boop. We're going to pull this up real quick. Jesse Waters, friend of the channel. Let's see what he has to say. Go ahead.
When Democrats get desperate, they start hoaxing. We got carpet bombed with hoaxes leading up to the election, and now they're circling back. Senate Minority Leader AOC just debuted the Minnie Miller hoax.
Stephen Miller is a clown.
Bird hands. Bird hands. Bird hands. Strider drawing attention to the women clapping to make a point. I agree with you, but I'm also tired of bird hands. This shit right here. That means I'm right and you better listen to me because I'm nagging the shit out of you. Bear in mind, that's this, not this, and not this. We're talking about this gesture right here. They're pointing it at you. Meh, 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 meh. I promise, once you start watching for bird hands, it's everywhere. We might have to do a whole show segment on bird hands. I think I'm going to do this week's Touch Grass on the female gooner epidemic. But we might have to do a whole episode on bird hands. This is the millennial woman nag gesture. Yeah, go ahead.
I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10", and he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10".
Primetime measured Miller, he's 5'10", with no shoes on. He told us, quote, "It sounds like AOC needs a new therapist." AOC really shouldn't throw stones. Her fiance's no Prince Charming.
That's good. That's good because you know she is in therapy and you know she goes to therapy and just talks about how much she can't stand Stephen Miller. It feels sexual to me. Just outside looking in, it feels vaguely horny. I think she wants to lube up his bald head and insert it. Okay, go ahead.
Look at him. Legs crossed, Birkenstocks, straws, three.
By the way, this is what she does find attractive. Is this right here. This is fuckable to her. Go ahead.
Strikes, you're out. But when we talk about her, AOC says we're just jealous and want to date her. We don't. And maybe her fiance doesn't either because they've been engaged for over 3 years.
Oh,
meanwhile, Miller's a stud with a wife and 3 kids. And now AOC fans want her to apologize for body shaming him.
Also, someone said, short kings are great. Absolutely. I'm not here. I want to absolutely make sure that I talk about that. I'm not here to make fun of anyone's anything.
That's crazy.
But the way people overcompensate over their own stories is what I'm talking about there. So thank you for the clarification.
Do you see how she immediately backtracks? That's one thing I hate about the left is they can't stick to their own jokes because their audience is so sensitive. They just can't have fun. So it's like, just fucking own what you said. Just fucking own what you said. Own the fact that your body should be like, yes, you know what, bitch? I am body shaming. Thank you for noticing. Just own it because you are. And I hate this idea that you could be like spiritually short. By the way, she said, Stephen Miller is spiritually 4'10", and later in that clip, as she's clarifying, as she's trying to backtrack and like win favor with her audience, she also says that Andrew Tate is spiritually 5'3". So, by the way, Andrew Tate, which love him or hate him, is an accused sex trafficker, and he is spiritually taller than just a Republican, just a regular Republican that she disagrees with. This is crazy. And what she's actually saying, this is what I'm saying is like the left, especially especially women on the left, especially feminist women on the left, they don't actually have an argument outside of, if I don't like you, your bloodline should die. And that's why it always goes down to, if they don't like what you're saying, they will try to invalidate your masculinity. They will call you insecure. They will say that you're short. They will say that you don't have hair. They will say that, you're an incel. That's the other one. Because this is, by the way, this is the same demographic of people that says body count doesn't matter. Body count doesn't have any impact on who you are as a person, unless you're a man, in which case your lack of a body count invalidates all your opinions and means that you deserve to die. So these are the people that we're dealing with here. They don't have any like real morals or principles. And these are the same people that say that the worst thing you could possibly do is body shame someone. God forbid you point out that a woman's heavy. God forbid. What's crazy is that this made it into mainstream political discourse. And this demonstrates how empty-headed people like AOC are. Like, she has significant substantive disagreements with the Trump administration and with Stephen Miller and Elon Musk and all these people. And the only thing she can think of to relate to her audience is they're short and that makes them insecure in their masculinity. It's this insecure masculinity. We need secure men to stand up. And by the way, secure men are just men who agree with her politically. Men like her witless, dickless, feckless fiance who just sits there cross-legged like a lump as she runs over him and controls absolutely every detail of his life. He's just sitting there like a fucking half-empty sack of potatoes. This is what I'm saying. He's like, this is a person that, like, her whole argument against your position is that your bloodline should die. And yet this guy whose bloodline she obviously thinks should continue why is he impressive? What's so impressive about this? And this is why I always say, like, the women should be in politics. Is like, we've gotten so far away from the substantive point at this point. Like, we're not having a substantive discussion about immigration, which, by the way, is one of the most significant issues and one that should be like eminently relevant because, that's like one of the main things that people are concerned about right now. That might be the issue that decides the midterm elections. And yet we're having an honest, like, she took time out of her day. Because look at this. She's not in her office at this point. Like, she's just like in a hoodie, in some like living space somewhere, like vibing on the couch. Like, she looks, if you did not know that this was a sitting congressman and in fact was the House Minority Leader, if you didn't know that, this would be indistinguishable from just a regular TikTok influencer, just a regular shrieking, overeducated millennial harpy who doesn't have anything substantive to add to the discussion. Like, I don't really understand. I don't know. I don't really understand how. I guess this is my problem with this is that we have, I say this all the time, we have a politics in this country that's like a politics of vibes. It's not about substantive policy issues. I think most people cannot articulate substantive policy issues now. I think we've gotten so far away from that most people like, okay, like the elections that I can remember in the 2012 election, there was a big debate about healthcare and what should be done about it. And it seems like now the discussion is about each side is calling the other side like an evil poopy pants. And that's it. Like, what are we having? Are we having serious policy discussions anymore in this country, or is it just vibes? Like, this is embarrassing. Like, if I was a person who voted for this person, I would be embarrassed. If I was a person who routinely voted for Democrats and the House Minority Leader was attacking a political opponent by saying, oh yeah, you're short, which is a proxy for you're a nerd and you never get laid. That's a proxy for. You're insecure. You have a small dick. It's all this same family of insults. Like, do you really like? Is it really your argument that the animating principle of Republican politics is insecure masculinity? I think at the end of the day, this comes down to. By the way, this is the same party that will sit back and say, "Why don't men vote for Democrats?" Why is it that men will not vote for Democrats? What is going on there? What is it? What is not appealing to men about this message? You know? What's not appealing? This is what I'm saying. Like, even to men who, and you can tell by the way that even her people like reflexively reacted repulsively to it. Right? Because there are people on that side who are genuinely against body shaming, but she's pretending to be against body shaming. She doesn't have the maturity or the wherewithal to engage in a substantive policy discussion about why this stuff is wrong. She's just shrieking and throwing insults. And that's where our politics is now. That's true. The sensationalism of the mainstream media has decayed the conversation and comprehension of policy discussions. Everyone just parrots headlines now. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. And I watch a lot of left-wing content online. That's a lot of what the algorithm sends me, particularly on Facebook. And I will tell you, basically, all I'm hearing is that, we're in an authoritarian police state now, and that ICE is the SS, and we're running off immigrants to death camps or whatever. And that's, by the way, this has an effect on people's real life behavior. That's what's important too, is as the discussion decays and as people embrace sensationalist headlines and we get further and further away from anything approximating a substantive policy discussion, that has impact on people's real life behavior. Like people, like I'll give you an example right now. So let me pull this up because I wanted to show you guys this. This is because I'm fascinated by the what's going on with the ICE raids right now. So win, lose, or draw. There's pros and cons to the ICE raids. One of the pros is decreasing the overall number of illegal immigrants, and the fact that enforcement measures have stepped up so much. One of the things that's happened is the number of people trying to cross the border has dropped by 90%, which, by the way, that's not trivial. That is one of the advantages of having the footage from the ICE raids so publicly available, is people who are thinking about coming across the border will see that and then not do it. So you can actually reverse the trend relatively quickly. And if they're able to meet their goals of 1 million people a year, that's like you got like somewhere between 12 and 18 million illegal immigrants. If you got 4 million of them out, that would make a significant difference. That would make a significant difference. And then in addition to that, you get people to self-deport by, making it difficult for employers to hire illegal immigrants. Because then if they come here and they can't get jobs, they will leave on their own. You don't even have to arrest them. But the downside to that is every time you have a use of force incident that goes viral, that animates people, because people want to live in clean streets, but they don't want to see how the streets get cleaned. Right? This is a lot of people thinking like a use of force looks ugly, and it does look ugly. But this is a downstream of a deliberate sensationalist media reporting. Let me show you an example of that. Okay, so this one, let's go ahead and blow this up. Okay, so we're gonna watch this video. It says Portland police officer threatens Trump ICE thug. See, that's one of those dehumanizing words we talk about, right? Thug is a dehumanizing word. So this isn't an officer of the law who's trying to support public safety. He's a Trump ICE thug. Because remember, the people who hate Trump's name is a devil word, right? And thug is that now I'm picturing a jackbooted stormtrooper, an SS officer who's marching through the streets, knocking on doors, trying to find Mexicans hiding in attics or whatever. So Portland police officer threatens Trump ICE thug with arrest if he tries to drive through crowd of protesters. Real law enforcement doesn't need a mask, just a spine. Uh-oh. Let's watch the video real quick.
We're not going to this car. Back it up and take a left. If you go to this car, people will be arrested. Ma'am, I am telling you, if you go to this car to people, you will be arrested.
Ma'am, are you saying it's a woman in the car? But I was told it was a Trump ICE thug. I distinctly pictured a scary man. Let's see what else.
You're not going this way.
By the way, the protesters are blocking the street, and the people who are trying to go to work are being framed as the bad guys. Go ahead.
If you're not going to listen to my orders, then it's your choice. I am giving you an order right now. Back this vehicle up.
All right, so let's see, but this got community noted. The longer video shows the people in the car are not ICE agents, but two civilian women. What? Now, let me ask you something. Do you think that the original video on TikTok had that community note? Do you think that the millions of people who've seen this video are aware that there are not actually ICE agents in that vehicle, that that's actually just two civilian women that a police officer is politely asking not to run over protesters? No, of course not. Of course not. This is being deliberately framed by people both in the legacy media and on social media as a righteous battle of good, honest, God-fearing leftist law enforcement that just lets people do whatever they want, and the evil, jackbooted federal stormtroopers who are coming in to lock up innocent minorities. Right? We're not having, this is what happens when it's all, this is the Harry Potter-fication of politics. This is the comic bookification of politics. We have this idea that it's good versus evil. It's the good, wholesome rebels against the big evil empire, you know, and the plucky upstart rebels are going to win. There's no sense that in order to have an environment where the laws are enforced and some kind of public safety is enforced, that you might need law enforcement to do something. You might actually have to use force periodically. There's no sense of that. You know, and this, what I'm talking about, you know, AOC says that we have a problem with insecure masculinity. This is, in my opinion, is suicidal empathy, which is a toxic feminine trait. And we talk about like, why is it bad when the government is filled with childless cat ladies? And it's not, if you want to like not have children and just raise cats, that's fine as far as I'm concerned, because then you won't pass on your leftist politics to the next generation. And that's A-okay by me. But what you're actually seeing is when you have people like AOC, who, you know, has no children, and she's setting the policy agenda, and lawmakers like her setting the policy agenda. They're taking their maternal instinct and applying it in situations where it does not apply. This is why we have appointed judges in other cities, right? That their sole role is to be as sensitive as possible to the criminals and to absolutely minimize the amount of punishment that criminals get, and to just like send them back to the streets as quickly as possible, and just to eliminate the punitive aspect of the justice system and eliminate all the use of force from the justice system. And the thing is, like, that impulse towards suicidal empathy is actually terrible, because you can't just feel your way out of difficult situation. Like, it's already gotten to the point, because so many, we don't talk about this, but so many illegal immigrants came in, especially under the Biden administration, and there was no border enforcement and no effort to get them out. And what that does is it raises housing costs. It fucks up the job market, right? It raises healthcare costs. It has all these downstream consequences. And basically the only defense that I've heard from Democrats that's remotely credible for this is our economy depends on slave labor. We need these people to come in and be slaves or else our economy won't function. Which is weak. And then they're like, well, you can't take away our slaves. Don't do that. That's mean. What would they do without us? It's crazy. And they want to seize the moral high ground and insist that they're the compassionate side of the argument. When really what it comes down to is slaves. And a lot of people will say, a lot of Democrats will say kind of credibly, and I believe them when they say this, they're like, well, I don't care if someone's here illegally or not. I don't care about that. These are people. I don't care if they're here legally or illegally. They're not bothering anybody. It's like, right, I get that. But the fact that they're here has downstream, the second and third order consequences on the country of absorbing all these people who are not, integrating with the culture and who are placing costs. And the other thing too is that states like California insist that if you come here, you're going to get a bunch of shit for free. And we have birthright citizenship, which means that there's a bunch of incentives for people to come here illegally and have children. And the Democrats are using that to increase their foothold in the Electoral College by driving up population. By the way, this is the same thing that happened this is the same argument we had about the 3/5 compromise, where the Democrats at that point wanted to be able to count their slaves because it increased their share of the electorate. It's the same thing. It's actually the same argument happening again. And they're framing it like they're the compassionate ones, which is a psychotic degree of gaslight. This is how you know the Democrat Party is run by women, because only a woman could gaslight you that confidently and be so sure that they were, because I really think that this like toxic feminine element of Democrat politics actually does believe their own bullshit to some degree. I think a lot of them do. A lot of the people, at least who are voting this way, are true believers. I think the average woman that you see shrieking into her phone on TikTok, I think she is a genuine true believer. And I think they've got a lot of the masses, the people who are not, engaged in a sophisticated way, the masses who they don't really know what's going on. They're like Weasel is saying, they just read headlines and go with that, or they see a TikTok video and they just believe uncritically whatever comes out of the phone, right? They don't have that thought of like, oh, I wonder if this is even true. That doesn't occur to them, right? They don't have that thought. They just go with what it is. Those people, I think, are actually true believers. And I think to their credit, they are, I think, motivated to some degree by a genuinely compassionate spirit. I'll show you what I mean by that. I actually have a video that's relevant here. We're not going to watch the whole thing because it's long, but we are going to go over it. So this is interesting. I'm going to all right, let's go ahead and pull this on the screen. Okay, so this is an ICE arrest in Chicago that's happening. And so use of force looks horrible when you catch it on film. And obviously these guys are having a bitch of a time getting this guy arrested, getting him in the car. Right? And so now watch what happens. People are kind of slowing down. They're taking notice of what's happening. And then we're going to fast forward a little bit. Okay, see, people are gathering. People are crowding. People are honking horns. Right? And there's this guy and one other guy. So there's two guys trying to arrest this one guy. And people are yelling at him, and they're pulling their phones out. Cars are pulling up. Let's see what else happens. They're just having a bitch of a time getting this guy in the car. I don't know why they don't just have one guy open the door. This guy's crying and wheezing and trying not to go. And these guys are... See how they're like surrounding them though? So, okay, so this is actually becoming a dangerous situation for these law enforcement people, right? Because they don't know. They don't know if this is gonna, they don't know if one of these guys has a gun or a weapon or something. They don't know if they're gonna like physically intervene at this point, right? They don't know what's going on. So this is freaky, right? This is freaky for them. And then it gets worse. So we'll go further along, you know. Yeah, let's go further along. And as you can see, so they kind of got him on the ground. But look at how many people have gathered around. The cars are pulling up. This is a dangerous situation now. They're completely surrounded. It does not matter it does not matter ostensibly that they're technically in the right and they're acting fully within the scope of their powers and they're acting within federal jurisdiction. Like, legally speaking, this is a legitimate law enforcement action, right? But now you've got people, just regular, like, Joe Blow citizen, like, pulling up and kind of yelling at him. And here's the thing, anyway, the resolution of this, we'll skip ahead, because the resolution is they choose to let the guy go, and then they just get out of here because of how nasty this situation has got. You hear that? They're surrounded by a mob of people who are yelling at them, and now they're going away. Now, why did that happen? Why did that happen, Strider? This is what I voted for, base. Okay, that's the other thing, too. So it says, so this is something that's important. So what the media is reporting right now, because I've looked into this quite a bit, the media is reporting right now is that opinions on the ICE raids are split 50-50. Some people think it's horrible, and some people think it's awesome, and we need more of it, right? And so they say, well, what could possibly be the split? Purely along partisan lines. Purely along partisan lines. Like, people who voted Republican, people who voted for Donald Trump, they think, in general, think that the ICE raids are a great idea. And then your average, and then, people who are voting for Democrats think that they're terrible. And it's like, why might this be? And I think it's like media bubbles. And what's interesting is videos like this one that I just showed. Like, look how Strider's responding to this. This is what I voted for. All right. Right. So, and fair enough. The videos like this, these use of force incidents, are a Rorschach test. Rorschach test. For those of you that don't know, this is for my California viewers. Rorschach test is an ink blot that takes on kind of an ambiguous shape, and what you see, says less about the ink blot shape itself and more about what's going on in your mind and who you are. Right? It's a test in psychology. And this is a test where two people with different political views can look at the same video and have a completely different reaction to it. And I don't think that's downstream of like I don't think leftists are morally superior because they care more about illegal immigrants. That's not what I think is going on. I think what's going on is that you have people with two completely different social media echo chambers. They have two completely different ideas of not just what the issues are, but what the facts are. So you have two sides that just can't agree. It used to be people had different opinions on the same facts because they got their news from different sources and they reacted to it how they were reacted to it. I think what's tricky now is that people are not reacting to the same set of facts. People have their own curated worldview that takes them completely out of it. So the left is focusing on the individual humanity of each individual immigrant. And shouldn't we feel bad for these people? Look at how emotional and upset they are. Right. And that's a very, like I said, that's a very feminine approach. It's like, oh, look at how upset they are. Shouldn't we feel bad for them? And it's like, yeah, fair enough. I get where you're coming from on that. And that would, and in a small group, that matters. Like, if you're at a child's birthday party and one child is crying, then it might be appropriate to feel bad for them. It might be. We'll see. But are they crying because it's not their birthday? Then no. And the left doesn't have any way to meaningfully distinguish that. The other thing is, when you scale up to the society level, you can't just stop the presses every time one person cries. You have to do what's best for the country as a whole. And sometimes what's best for the country as a whole is you need to have borders. We do not punish any other country for having borders and enforcing them. And you could say what you want. You could say that Trump's border enforcement is inhumane or whatever. But at the end of the day, it is effective. Like I said, attempted border crossings are down 90%. And more people are going out than are coming in. And that is a goal. It's a policy goal for Republicans, is to get the immigration situation under control because of the downstream consequences on housing costs, on the job market, on healthcare. And I understand that we're going to have to give up our slaves. Now, we're going to have to do our own work. No more slaves. Sorry. And I know Democrats, they get super upset when you try to take their slaves. Every time. They get sad. They're like, no, I like slaves. It's it's also always wealthy Democrats in metropolitan areas who are like, but who's going to be my gardener? Who's going to be my gardener? Who? They're actually just mad you're taking their slaves. Like, don't be mean. Don't be mean. And Weasel make a good point. I'm in Cali, and none of my Mexican neighbors are being deported. Granted, they're all citizens or come here legally. Yeah. And by the way, what does it say to the people who came here legally when people who came here illegally actually get more benefits and they get amnesty? What are we saying to those people? It's like, look, I know you came here at great expense to yourself. I know you worked really hard. You learned the language and you learned the history of the country and you embraced the culture and you passed a citizenship test and you swore an oath of allegiance to the United States and you did that in front of the flag and you, it was super emotional and it was a huge accomplishment and it took you many years of hard, dedicated work. It was probably one of the most meaningful things that's ever happened to you in your life. And that's really awesome that happened to you. But this guy who just like hopped the fence yesterday is going to get, free healthcare, free housing, just like everything he wants. He doesn't even have to learn the language. He doesn't even have to give a shit about being in America. He doesn't have to do anything. He just gets a bunch of free shit. And if he has a child here, his child is just as American as your child. You're welcome. Hope you're happy. Hope you're happy. I know we're talking about what's compassionate to the illegal immigrants, but if you're compassionate to the people that's breaking the law, you're committing a different kind of disservice, a different kind of injustice to the people who follow the law. That's just, I'm telling you, disrespect for the law is not a good thing. You cannot run a society on that principle. You can't. And we can talk about whether or not the ICE raids are appropriate, but that's unnerving. And by the way, why are people let's go back to this video. Why are people acting like this? Why are people surrounding law enforcement officers who are making a lawful arrest and they're forming an angry mob around them? Why is that happening? Why is that happening? Right? It's because of what the media is telling them is going on, right? All of these people, I guarantee you, all these people are on social media. They're on TikTok. They're on Instagram. They're getting their news from short video clips. They're not getting their news, from substantive, credible sources. They're getting their news from sources that have the incentive to say something that's as inflammatory as possible, to make them angry and afraid, because that's what drives engagement. That's what gets people to pay attention. Is I'm going to say the most inflammatory shit I could possibly think of. I'm not going to add any clarifying context. In fact, if there is clarifying context, I'm going to make sure to leave that out, because we don't want to let clarifying context get in the way of a good story that could really drive engagement. What we're going to do is we're going to highlight all the worst possible uses of force, and we're going to complain about how bad it is. And then we're going to use a lot of inflammatory language like Gestapo and Nazi and SS. And like that tweet I showed on the last show, there was this woman, or on Touch Grass last week, there was a woman who was like, how do we know they're not just throwing them and taking them to camps and killing them? How do we know? It's like, because there's literally no evidence that that's happening. Like, if that's happening, then I'm against it. But show me some evidence that it's happening. They're just making baseless, feelings-based statements that, I understand that feels good to say. But it's just hysterical whining. It's not what is your solution then? If that's, I understand you're complaining about it, but what is your solution? What is your approach that you would propose? And if your solution is everybody just gets to stay here and we're all just happy and we don't even need borders. If that's your solution, then I don't need to take you seriously. Your opinion is not equal to mine. If that's, you know what I'm saying? That's not, we don't have an equal opinion on stuff. If that's what you think. Our opinions aren't the same. This is what I'm saying. The real tragedy of wokeness, I think, is the death of a viable left-wing opposition party. Like there is like we don't have like this is the consolidate. We really have one political party that functions in this country and one that is just flailing and incompetent and whiny and animated by this spirit of just hysterical shrieking. And it's like, what? That's not good. That's not good for the country. Like a constitutional republic functions when there's two parties who agree on the facts and differ about the appropriate policy response. And then they just kind of like argue about stuff. And then kind of you get good governance from the process of those two parties going at each other. Right? Like that's what you get. But now you have one party who says, hey, we want to be a nation of laws, and that means you have to immigrate to the country legally. And then we have one country that says, I don't care, let's have free stuff, unlimited free stuff for everybody forever. Unlimited free stuff for everybody forever is not a viable policy platform. Like that's not even like how do you even dialogue with someone where that's their position? Right? You can't dialogue with somebody like that. You know? That's not what the fuck, dude? Like, and you say, well, there's such a thing as scarcity. And their response is, well, scarcity is artificial and it's created by billionaires. I promise you, capitalism did not invent scarcity. In fact, capitalism did more to ameliorate scarcity than any other system that existed prior to this. Scarcity is a natural part of human existence. The fact that we have more fat poor people than we do starving poor people for the first time in human history is a testament to how, capitalism is actually not so bad on the scarcity thing. And I understand that like a lot of wealth and power has consolidated in the hands of some oligarchs. And that's, deeply unsettling that those people have, a tremendous amount of power and they're not elected or whatever. But I mean, it's also possible. It's like, what's the solution to that? And that's the solution on the left is we need to take away all of the money from the oligarchs and distribute it and redistribute it to the people using government force. And it's like, okay, is that your real solution? Because downstream of that is a whole lot of like pain and suffering and violence. It's not good. And you can say whatever you want. And also you can say whatever you want, but like the fact that we have an internet, the fact we have the technology that we have, the fact that we have the access to food that we have, all of that is downstream of market capitalism. It wasn't like government force that did those things. And if you want to take that away and disrupt it, if you want to remove people's incentives to, follow the law, comply with the society, and try to achieve things, you're gonna have significant problems, and you're not gonna get rid of scarcity. Scarcity is a feature, not a bug. Scarcity is part of the deal, so you have to consider scarcity. Okay, just like you can't have unlimited free stuff for everybody forever because eventually you run out of stuff. And if you make it so that anybody who comes here illegally gets unlimited free stuff for everybody forever, then you're going to you're going to create the incentives for a lot more people to come here illegally, and you're going to destroy the incentives for people to participate in the legal process. People follow incentives. That's just it. People follow. That's a human behavior thing. I'm not trying to be an asshole about it, but people follow incentives. And by the way, every other country on the planet has a process that you have to go through if you want to immigrate to their country. Every single other country on the planet has a process you have to go through. No other country on the planet is like, yeah, just come here, whatever, it's cool. And the countries that do try to adopt a, hippy dippy, do whatever you want kind of immigration policy, you get what you have in England, where it's a fucking nightmare. Here's the problem. Native populations do not react well to that. That's just how it is. Like native populations do not react well to that. Then you have to deal with what you're dealing with in England right now, which is tremendous social unrest. And I think to Trump's credit, I think what people are underestimating about the ICE raids is, yes, they are really ugly, but it's an attempt to ameliorate a problem that's been getting worse and worse and worse for a long time. This is what happens when you kick the can down the road. And to Trump's credit, he is trying to address problems now that are going to get worse in the future. And that's ugly. Sometimes it looks ugly. Sometimes fixing a problem looks really ugly. But what I always say is like ugly as compared to what? Like, what are we actually doing for? And by the way, a lot of this is because figures in the media are deliberately making it sound and look worse than it actually is. They're deliberately exaggerating. And of course, it is also fair to say that right-wing media is exaggerating the amount of civil unrest that's present in the cities. I do want to pull up some of these videos from Portland because, I said on the last show that I was just like not buying this, that local Portlanders were, tearing up the city. I wasn't really buying that narrative. And I think there's probably, more to it than that. And I also, the Portland government deliberately resisting ICE is a fact. The Portland police being told to collect evidence on ICE and not to help them and not to cooperate. That is a different thing. And then deliberately resisting, trying to bring the National Guard in is kind of a different thing. But in terms of the actual people of Portland, not outside. Example of one of the protests. Oh, man. See what I mean? These are not serious people. These are your revolutionaries. These are not serious people that you're contending with. These are people who are feeling big emotions. And if you ask them for a serious policy proposal, they're going to be like, give everybody free stuff for everybody forever. Yes, everybody can come here. There are no borders. Yes. Like they don't have serious ideas. Like what's frustrating is that these people's opinions are being considered equal to everyone else's. I think that's there's people who know a lot about policy and are trying to make serious, meaningful change. And then these people who are I think a lot of these people are suffering and their lives aren't going well. And they're just looking for an excuse to be emotional. I think a lot of this is people not liking what they're getting. Oh fuck, I forgot. Oh, I had another AOC video I wanted to show. We're gonna do that real quick so I can use it for the clip, and then we're gonna cut back to immigration. Hold on, I forgot about this. Okay, this is her responding to the short king slander when she was slandering short kings earlier. Oh, let's show it on stream. Go ahead.
I want to express my love for the short king community.
Please stop.
I don't believe in body shaming. I am talking about how big or small someone is on the inside. Like, for example, I have no idea how tall Andrew Tate is. No idea at all. But that guy looks to me like 5'3".
Okay, so this is so important because remember she said Stephen Miller looks 4'10". So Andrew Tate, the accused sex trafficker, is spiritually taller than Stephen Miller.
Like 5'3", 5'4". Whereas physically, men of smaller stature can come across. They are spiritually 6 foot. If you're a good dad, if you stand with women, if you're not.
Right. So if you agree with her politically and you're a cucked feminist, then you're spiritually 6 feet tall. But by the way, that's not the same thing as being attractive. Like that will get you good boy head pats. You get head pats. That's not the same thing as It's not the same thing as like actually being attractive. This is all encouraging you to be a good little boy and go along with the agenda of the people who want to destroy you. Go ahead.
Belittling immigrants, you're like, 6'3".
Notice how she said belittling immigrants. Right. This is not, you notice how this is, okay, let's finish up the video.
Spiritually, I don't know. Am I being problematic? I want to express.
No, honestly, she can make whatever jokes she wants. Okay, but like the people in Portland who are in costumes and dancing, this is the level at which they engage in policy. She is the elected version of that. They're not engaging at a serious level. They're engaging in it emotionally. They're saying unlimited free stuff for everybody forever. Or another way of phrasing that is just be nice. Why can't we just be nice to everybody all the time? Just be nice. It's like, no, that's not going to do it. I'm sorry. That's not going to do it. That's not going to do it. Like, it's actually a really difficult and challenging problem. We have a bunch of challenging problems that need to be dealt with, and it requires serious policy solutions. And there are no perfect solutions. At this point, things have gotten so bad that there's no solution where nobody suffers. You got to pick who's going to suffer, right? And it's either going to be Americans are going to suffer because the job market's going to suck and the housing market's going to suck and healthcare prices are going to go up and food costs are going to go up and the roads are going to go to shit. Like, all this stuff is going to happen. Or we can have some pain and suffering right now and we get a bunch of foreigners out of the country. And then things might get better. But there's no solution where nobody suffers. It sucks. And I wish it weren't that way. That'd be awesome if we could just like wave a magic wand. Like if everybody could just stay here and it'd be sick and awesome and cool and everybody would be happy and we could just have unlimited free shit for everyone forever. That'd be fucking awesome. That's just not how things are. Let's see. It's out of towners stirring shit up, but I heard some harrowing war stories from Portland citizens, and it sounded like people running from a war zone. It was terrifying. The violence is real. Yeah, I think that especially at night, things get ugly. I think that's I agree with this theory that it's paid agitators. I think it's paid agitators. But it's the other thing too. Okay, this is what's tricky about this is I was trying to make this point on the show last time. We have had periods of significant civil unrest in this country before. Typically, the difference is local law enforcement steps in and handles it so that federal law enforcement doesn't have to step in. And federal law enforcement stepping in is actually the big difference. It's like typically federal law enforcement doesn't have to. Usually it's local police. Sometimes it's the National Guard. Usually federal troops are not necessary. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. The reason federal troops are stepping in is because local law enforcement is saying, fuck you. We're not going to do anything about it. And if you remember, the reason I use the example of the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone or the CHAZ or the CHOP or whatever you want to say over in Seattle is one, that was in my home state. So that was something that, I know that example somewhat. The other thing too is that's an example of what happens when local law enforcement says, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to let them tire themselves out. Like it's a toddler and you just let them run around outside till they get tired, except for that's not what happened. They took over a part of the city. And then when all the cops got pushed out, a bunch of people died and a bunch of people got sexually assaulted. A bunch of people got hurt because law enforcement wasn't doing their job. And that was in the name of being compassionate or, in the name of being nice, a bunch of people got hurt because there weren't rules being enforced. And I know enforcing, and by the way, the first thing they did in the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone is they gave a bunch of people guns and had them patrolling around to try to enforce order, which by the way, I don't know about you, but that seems a lot like fucking cops to me. It seems like they're just reinventing the wheel. And of course, because they don't have supply chains and we're so disconnected from supply chains, we don't understand that we're part of an interdependent society where everybody depends on everybody to do their part. So the first thing that happened was they ran out of fucking food. They were like, we need food. Please bring us food. And they tried to grow food. It went fucking terrible. And it's like, these are common gardens. And of course, everybody familiar with the tragedy of the commons. What happens if everybody owns everything? It goes to shit. Like stuff that's owned, nobody feels any sense of responsibility over something that's owned by everybody. So if it's common ownership, everything goes to shit. And by the way, with no police, nobody there enforcing the rules, that enabled who? Psychopathic bad actors who just don't care how their actions affect other people, took advantage of the hippie philosophy of be nice to everybody to go in there and to, assault people, to kill people, stuff like that. Because that's what happens when you don't enforce rules. There has to be some meaningful law and order, or, you don't have anything. Yeah. It's like, shout out Steve started to make a great point. See Crowder's coverage of the Chaz. It was both hilarious and scary. Yeah, it was. Because it's a lot of people in there. Because the people in there are just delusional hippie types who really should be nowhere near policy ever. But there were also people in there who were truly there to harm people. Like Schreier's making this point. It was literally taken over by a SoundCloud rapper and who handed out a bunch of guns to people to be his personal police force, which is the fact that, by the way, to push the actual police out and then replace them with your own personal hit squad is crazy work. That's harkening back to just a much earlier time in human history. And I know we like to pretend in this country that we're a post-history society, and the modernist assumptions is that we're smarter than all our ancestors and the laws of history don't apply to us, but they absolutely do. And I'm telling you, if you let social order break down, it's going to get horrible. This is why what's alarming to me is the way people that mob was gathering around those ICE agents who were making arrests. Imagine for a second that it wasn't ICE agents. It was just regular police officers making an arrest, and people gathered around them and were like, no, don't do that. And they had to let the guy go. What do you do? Because that's looking at people are not respecting law and order anymore. So how do you regain the respect of the local populace? It's you could do it through fear, or, you could try to use charm to incentivize them to agree with you, try to win the battle of public opinion. But it seems like it's going to end up being force. And it seems like the strategy the administration using is escalating the force, sending in National Guard troops, sending in Department of Homeland Security troops, sending in more ICE agents. Now, what I have heard, and I don't, this is being reported broadly in the left-wing media, is that the push for more and more and more and more deportations is having a detrimental impact on the morale of ICE agents. The fact that everybody thinks they suck and is telling them how terrible they are, and they're working really hard, is, really wearing people down. So they got a lot of turnover. And I don't doubt that that's true to some degree. I mean, obviously, I don't know. You can never tell with what's in the media, but it wouldn't surprise me if the public backlash is fucking demoralizing. Can you even imagine being an ICE agent right now and having to deal with that? Having to deal with your fucking lefty friends knowing that's what you do and calling you a baby killer or whatever. I mean, I don't know what they're calling them, but I imagine it's not complimentary. And by the way, what they're doing is they're trying to enforce the existing laws in the country. They're trying to enforce the existing laws. So, and the main argument against it is that the existing laws are mean and the enforcement mechanism is mean, and it's bad to be mean. And it's what do you think? Again, and this is what I'm saying. People want to live in clean streets. They complain about crime. They complain about housing costs. They complain about the job market. They complain about inflation. They complain about how the streets are worn down. They complain about healthcare costs. But they want to address the causes without ruffling any feathers whatsoever. And it's that's just not how things work. That's just not how things work. At the end of the day, sometimes you have to do difficult, challenging things in order to make things happen. And I don't know. I understand that this is upsetting. I'm not, psyched about it. I would be psyched if you could just, I could be psyched it'd be awesome if you could just, wave a magic wand and all the problems would go away. But that's not, It's not how things are, you know. But the other problem is that we're dealing with people, and this is true with AOC. This is true with a lot of people on the left. People who fundamentally they don't have principles. They're just they're pretending to be compassionate because is what for their brand. That's what works for their brand. That's what their followers want to believe, that they are the side of compassion. Even though we've talked about this, their policies have disastrous downstream consequences. Right? If you actually look at the broader implications of what they're saying, their policies have disastrous downstream consequences. They still want to sit around and pantomime like they are the compassionate ones. Like they're the ones that that are the happy, good people. And I'm telling you, anytime someone is publicly virtue signaling constantly and talking about how good a person they are and how compassionate they are, I promise that they're hiding something. Because you got to remember, a big thing on the right is people on the right. If you tell somebody on the right that they're doing something wrong, this is what fucked people up with like the racism thing for a long time. Tell people on the right that they're being racist, they're going to be like, maybe I am. Shit, I better look at that. I better honestly self-reflect, because that's something that happens on the right. And I think this is a Christian impulse. I know it is. I think it's shared by Catholics and Protestants. We both share this sense of guilt of Christianity trains you to look at your own mistakes and to assume that you are a person who frequently makes mistakes. That's a baked in assumption of that religious practice. So I think that is kind of seeped its way into conservatism. So if you tell a conservative person that, or if you did this like 10, 12 years ago, it's like, hey, that worked on me. I was like, oh, fuck, man, maybe I am racist. Maybe I should look at my assumptions about the world. Maybe I do make assumptions about people, that are baseless. But the left doesn't do that. They use that attack of racist that exists to attack other people. That shouldn't be that's only a weapon they can use on other people. They're not engaging in honest self-reflection, right? Or if they do, it's like, woe is me, I'm terrible. But it's like another narcissistic ploy to get people to heap praise on them. Like it's all about public perception. Internally, these are the people who are, especially the people who are high up, are sick, manipulative people. And I have really good evidence of that. You guys ready? I know some of you guys have already seen this video, but I'm going to show it anyway. Go ahead. Our good friend of the channel, Hassan Piker, has a dog. Famous, compassionate guy. Very compassionate for the people of Gaza, by the way. Terrorist sympathizer. Friend of the channel. Left-wing himbo. Hassan Piker has a dog. Let's see how he treats his dog, shall we? Let's watch this video. Let's watch how the leftist famous for compassion. Let's see what he does, shall we?
Of all of America's much more consequential violence, okay? It's the same reason as to why America, Kaya, please just fucking go, just stop.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing? You're being such a baby. It's just,
for those of you that aren't tracking, he has his dog on a shock collar, and she got off the spot she was supposed to be on, so he shocked the shit out of her, and she yelped hard, which means he's got that setting. For those of you that trade dogs, if a dog yelps like that, that's usually because he's got the setting like way too high. Like if you're going to use collars like that, they come with shock settings and vibration settings, and you want to set it at the absolute minimum that you need to get the dog's attention. It's not supposed to be painful. It's supposed to get the dog's attention. And if you have it in a shock like that and the dog yelps like that, that means you've got it set way, way, way too high. That means it's higher than the dog can tolerate, which means it's not a very nice thing to do. Most people take that badly. Let's see how his audience reacted.
you're making her stressed. She just literally is so incredibly spoiled from my mom. No, she doesn't want to come over here to see what's up. She just wants to fucking roam the house because she got to roam the house when I was gone. And she needs to literally have the same structured, regimented. I think that clip went to Trump's big baby desk immediately. I hate everything. I hate everything. Of all of America.
Yeah, so there's that famous left-wing empathy we've heard so much about, right? You love to see it. He just hates this fucking dog. You love to see it. I mean, not obviously. I feel bad for the dog, but I love that this example of. Remember, these are the people that want you to believe that they care more than you. And just remember, it's very. Anytime you have somebody who's like, "Don't you care? Don't you care? Why don't you feel bad? Why don't you care? Why don't you care?" Remember those people? They're just all completely full of shit. They're lying to you. They're lying to you. They don't actually care more than you. They don't actually care more than you, because caring involves knowing enough about a policy issue to know what needs to be done. And sometimes caring means saying no. Sometimes caring means making a difficult choice, right? Sometimes caring means doing the difficult things you need to do to make sure that the public is safe and to make sure that the laws in the country are followed. And the people who are telling you that they're better people than you because they support, like with Assad, he literally supports. He's a big supporter of Hamas, right? So this guy who's claiming to be more compassionate to you, this is the same guy who says America deserves 9/11, right? This guy's more compassionate than you because he has empathy for people outside of the country, and he has nothing but contempt for the people in the country. And he has nothing but contempt for his audience, by the way. There's nothing but contempt for his dog. I mean, how could you exist the way that he exists and feel good about yourself? This is the business person. He is such a great example of what the left actually is, because Hassan is first of all, he's Che Cougar's nephew, right? So he's a Nepo baby. And, he has tremendous amount of family money, which is what allows him to make a tremendous amount of money. It allows him the free time to make a tremendous amount of money streaming about politics. And he's not the smartest policy wonk. He's not the guy who knows the most. He's just a guy who looks good on camera, who's telling people what to think. And people like hearing what to think from him. So they send him. So because of that, he has, millions of dollars. And by the way, this is a guy who's talking about how the rich, constantly talking about how the rich have too much money and that it all needs to be redistributed and given back to the people. Right? That is quintessentially what the left is. And it's not about, by the way, it's not about genuine care for the poor. It's about guilt about how much they have and resentment for the people who have more. Because I think a lot of leftists, the mentality is, if you can't be a billionaire, why even play? And they struggle with this idea. They struggle with this idea that even if not everybody can be a billionaire, everybody pursuing their own rational self-interest is going to give everybody the best opportunity to improve their lives. And you may not be able to be a billionaire, but you can be better off than you were, and you can set your children up to be successful, right? That's something that can happen. That's a realistic and achievable thing. But to the leftists, they're like, well, if I can't be in charge, then why even bother? We should just kill all the billionaires. Then they really think that. By the way, these are the people who are famous for their compassion. These are people who and you don't. These are the people who, who want you to feel that way. And I think that, by the way, I think guys like Hassan are pushing the ideas that caused those regular ass people to surround those ICE agents who were trying to make an arrest. Like, these are the guys who are telling people, like, hey, you live in Nazi Germany right now. Hey, Donald Trump is literally an authoritarian dictator, and the only acceptable response is violent uprising. Hey, ICE agents are literally the SS. We need to be in the streets right now, physically fighting these people. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me because especially this is what I'm saying. I think with the Portland thing, it's like most of the Portland locals are just like hippies and degenerates and dorks who want to like dance in the street and they just want no war, peace. But I do think there are legitimately outside agitators who are coming in and trying to escalate things and trying to create violence. Did you see that? Okay, so that thing in Chicago is tricky. So in Chicago, there was a case where they said a lady was like ramming ICE vehicles and they shot her. But then it turned out she wasn't ramming ICE vehicles. And then the left-wing narrative was, I wonder if I have that one, because that was crazy. The left-wing narrative was, this is like an innocent lady who didn't do nothing. And then you look and it's like, oh no, she wasn't ramming ICE vehicles, but she wasn't ramming ICE vehicles, but she and other people were surrounding ICE, using their vehicles to surround ICE vehicles. And that one, after, some contentious and difficult driving situations where they were trying to use their cars to like disrupt the flow of ICE cars, eventually that escalated into her getting shot, which is a very different story. But on the left, think about that. On the right, that's being reported as armed woman rams ICE vehicles. On the left, that's being reported as innocent school teacher who didn't do nothing gets shot. So how are regular people supposed to make sense of what's happening in the world, in that environment? And I want to pull up a headline right now. So this is something. This is what's downstream of that. So here you have man with 200 explosives and leftist manifesto arrested outside Supreme Court event at church. 2 days after a Biden judge gave a light sentence to attempted Kavanaugh assassin, church event historically attended by conservative justices targeted. Is this weirdo? And apparently, so word on the street is, let's see, this is explosive Sunday manifesto showing that his anger was directed at Supreme Court, ICE, Catholics, and Jews. And by the way, anytime you see anti-Catholic sentiment and anti-Jewish sentiment, that is suspicion of institutional power that you do not understand. So that is conspiracy brain thinking. Typically, that's what you're seeing there. That's why those two run together. This is the same. These are two groups that the KKK also pointed out, and it's same deal. It's like my life isn't going well, so I'm looking for institutions to be suspicious of to turn on my conspiracy brain. And Supreme Court and ICE tells me, yeah. Anyway, so that's, this is a guy who is, I'm assuming, mentally unwell and chronically online. And this is why the discourse is harmful. Like for most of us, the discourse just makes us generally miserable. But we got to think of like the most unhinged 1% of people. Because the most unhinged 1% of people are seeing all the crazy headlines that you and I are seeing. But I think the people in this audience, I have one of the most intelligent audiences on the internet. Everybody in my audience, for the most part, is top 25% in IQ. They're all gainfully employed. People listen to my show while they're at work, or they can't listen to my show until they get home from work. That's who listens to my show. These are thoughtful people who do not take headlines at face value. That's who listens to my show. Okay. So you guys got to understand, it's not just you that's out there, right? You got to think about the most unhinged 1%. And this guy, look at this guy. This guy is in that most unhinged 1%. This guy is like mentally unwell. His life isn't going well. And the phone is just doing this, is making him crazier than he would otherwise be. And we don't have any kind of institutions where we can send our crazy people. Right? So they're just out there looking at the phone, and the phone is telling him, hey, the Jews and the Catholics and ICE and whatever, and we live in, this authoritarian place. And he, I guess, got it in his head that the best thing he could do was try to blow up a Supreme Court event at a church. Like, this is downstream of hysterical media coverage. This is why it's so important to be reasonable. Even at this time when the problem is, I understand that the algorithm selects for just the most hysterical shit possible. And so it's tempting to be like super hysterical about things. Like, but and it's tempting for me. Like, obviously, like if I got on here and I was, and I was like, the Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile is a Jewish psyop to assassinate the president or whatever, I could probably get a lot more followers than I currently have. But no, I insist on trying to be reasonable. I insist on trying to be reasonable. I know this is like a delusional fantasy on my part, but I would like to return to a politics that was ostensibly about policy and wasn't just about like feelings and vibes. I hate the feelings and vibes, based politics, and not because I lack empathy, contrary to popular belief. Although that is the feedback I've been getting a lot lately. It's like maybe I should work on that. But I'm saying like this, we've essentially got a political machine that runs on like the most base caveman brained emotions possible: anger, fear, jealousy, suspicion of the outsider. What's tricky about the current system is it's trying to convince you that your neighbor, it wants you to feel the same way about your neighbor that you would normally feel about an outsider. We're supposed to have, there's in-group bias and there's out-group bias. In-group bias makes you feel a positive feelings towards the people who are part of your group. And out-group is like where you feel positive feelings towards people who are outside of your group. Typically, you feel positive feelings towards people who are in your group. You feel more positively about them than people who are outside of your group. And what's tricky is we've undermined the group concept. We do not have a shared national identity right now. There are people who like America and are happy to be here, and people who still live in America who absolutely fucking hate America. They hate everything's about. They want to burn it all down. And we have to live next door to each other. So it's like you have to negotiate politically with people. Like if you're like, I want the country to keep going and be successful, and you have to negotiate with people who have embraced nihilism and say, I want to just completely destroy the country, and I don't want anything. I don't think that America is capable of doing anything good. I think we should destroy everything and burn it down. And it's like, you have to negotiate with those people. And it's like, how do we get halfway? What's the halfway point between I want the country to continue and I want to destroy the country? Halfway between reasonable and crazy is still crazy. And what's crazy is that the crazier the left gets, the more that emboldens elements on the right to get crazy. And I know we're still probably about 5 or 10 years out from seeing how crazy the right is capable of getting. But trust me, that's coming, because at some point people are going to, stop wanting to negotiate. It's not good, Let's see. Let's see the chat. Let's say hi to the chat. Red Strider. If I was making the kind of money Hassan is, I'd be incredibly grateful for it. But I'm not a piece of shit. I mean, I am, but at least I'm not ungrateful. Yeah. Not roguish nerd, friend of the channel. When your conspiracy friend tells you might want to chill out a bit, I believe the Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile thing. I'm dumb as fuck. Thanks, man. Mr. Scott, friend of the channel. Hello, howdy, fellow feds. Yeah, dude. I do suspect, dude. I think my show is going to be infiltrated by feds before I know it. That's the other thing too, is like we're seeing all these guys that are like being radicalized by their presence online. I just suspect that it's going to come out that feds had something to do with it. So we had a bunch of feds in the crowd on January 6th. We had a bunch of feds that plot to kidnap the Michigan governor. It was just an online forum where a bunch of feds convinced a bunch of normal guys to participate. Like, how much of this shit that's going on is like actually feds? Theo, get a stuffed animal and put a shock collar on it. I should. That'd be super funny. Shout out to Hassan, friend of the channel. Oh man, what a dork, right? Can you imagine being that well paid for doing basically nothing and doing something like that? And it's I cannot think of a better guy to lose his career over something like that. It couldn't happen to a better guy. Because he's such a garbage person. So let's see. Have you interviewed any January Sixers? I really should. I would really like to know what's going on with that. I'd love to get all that. The other thing too, this is one thing I have to do. I have to have more discussions with left-wing people. I have to at least confront. Cause remember what I did a while back? I did a special episode of Touch Grass where I interviewed this TikTok feminist and OnlyFans girl. And I thought it went really well. And it was just like dialogue. I wasn't framing it like a debate or whatever. And there were times where it was contentious because we just don't agree on stuff. But we still walked away from a discussion. I'm still on friendly terms with her. You know. And it's weird. That was the other thing. So I said I was doing that Kill Tony thing yesterday, or Johnny's Buckets yesterday, not Kill Tony. I was there, and Charlie Kirk came up a little bit, and there were definitely some people I talked to some people at the bar who were like all into the different conspiracies of how he might have been killed or whatever, which was interesting. And then some people, even people who were like, I didn't like him, but I don't think he should have been shot. And then, yeah, obviously the goth chicks were like super anti Charlie Kirk, which fair enough. It's about what you'd expect, right? But yeah, I don't think at least this is true, at least in Vegas. Vegas is not as much of a hysterical left-wing city as a place like Seattle or Portland. Like, people are pretty reasonable out here. Or at least very, even the left-wing people that I met are like not pro-murder. And that actually is somewhat encouraging. I think I think the pro-murder mentality on the left is downstream of extreme echo chambering. So it's both social media echo chambers and physical proximity echo chambers. If everybody thinks exactly like you and they're just constantly yes-anding each other, then they'll purity spiral. And I think part of saying you're pro-murder is that's a virtue signal to your group. That I am the most, because remember, this is a religious group. So it's like, I am the most sincere practitioner of the faith. Look at me. I'm the most pro-murder. I'm so sincere for the faith that I would kill for the cause. I would die for the cause and I would kill for the cause. That makes me the most passionate practitioner of the faith. I am the most woke, So looking at the chat. I know the shaman guy is pretty open to streams lately. Honestly, if I could get the shaman on, that would be fucking sick. That'd be fucking awesome, honestly. If I could get for those of you that don't know, he's talking about the guy who, I don't know what his real name is, but it's the guy who dressed up like a shaman and was storming the Capitol on January 6th. Which they tried to make that seem like that was like 9/11, and it wasn't. And the fact that a bunch of feds were in the crowd is so crazy. Like, I don't know if we've grappled with that yet. And what's crazy is like people who are on the left side of politics, that information has not made it into their echo chamber. Like, a lot of people on the left, a non-trivial amount of people on the left still think that the guy who shot Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, which whether you think he shot him or whether you think Israel did it or whatever, I don't know, but we're going to talk about Tyler Robinson right now because that's who they have in custody. Shout out Candace Owens, would smash. I could fix her. I don't care what none of y'all say. I could fix her. She is, I know she's currently married, but I'm gonna get her. Candace Owens and I are meant to be together. I can feel it. Anyway, setting that aside, regardless of that, we're going to talk about Tyler Robinson because that's who they have in custody currently. So a lot of people on the left think that he was some kind of hardcore like right winger or like a groyper, which what's crazy is they keep using the term groyper, but they don't even know what it means. They think that it was a MAGA supporter shot a MAGA supporter, which the groypers are not MAGA supporters. That's not who that is. That's a different faction, right? Even if he was a Groyper, it would be accurate to say that it was MAGA on MAGA violence. But that's how a lot of people who have a left-wing echo chamber, social media echo chamber, where they get their information, a lot of people think that. A lot of people don't, even though it does seems like it was motivated by being terminally online and like the trans thing and stuff like that, it does seem like that was the motivation. If we believe the official narrative, and we can question the official narrative, I'm totally fine with that, whatever. But let's just assume, for the sake of argument, right this second, we're just talking about the official narrative, because I don't have any other information besides that. So, a bunch of people on the left think that this guy was some kind of like right-wing person. And what's even more, the really bizarre narrative that has emerged is like, oh, it was white on white violence. So it was a white guy shooting another white guy, therefore who cares? And that's super weird to me, because in what way is this like motivated by race? That take I don't understand at all, because I'm like, what does that have to do? Did you think that we thought it was a black guy who did it? Did you think that what are we talking about here? What do we mean? And it's like, because from their perspective, absolutely, since they're completely obsessed with race, they project that whatever they accuse you of doing is what they're doing. So since they're completely obsessed with race, they assume that people on the right are also completely obsessed with race. So they think that we thought it was going to be a black guy or a Muslim or something who did it. And they thought that once it was a white guy, that people on the right were going to be like, oh, well, he's just a poor, troubled boy. Meanwhile, that completely misunderstands the psychology of the right. Completely misunderstand. These are people who value social order really highly. That's one of their most important values. Left-wing people are very okay with chaos, because they want freedom as their number one thing, to the point of living a boundaryless existence, which means they're totally okay with chaos, which is why you see so much more of the random citizens doing terrorism. Why that's so much more of a left-wing phenomenon is because they don't value social order in the same way. They're totally fine with like rioting and stuff like that, because they don't value social order in the same way. Whereas conservative people value social order, and crime is a violation of social order. So, in general, people were like, I haven't met anybody on the right who cared what color the guy was. They were like, bury him under the jail. Fuck him. So the facts that I just don't understand that perspective, but that is a product of the bubble that they're in. And they genuinely believe, you got to understand, they genuinely and passionately believe things that are fundamentally not true. Like the fact that Tyler Robinson was some kind of like right-wing MAGA supporter guy. That's just not, and there's no reason to think that that's true. All of the facts that we have contradict that narrative, but there are people who genuinely and passionately believe that's true. Just like there are people who believe that that Trump is throwing immigrants in vans and taking them to death camps. Not because that's true, not because there's any evidence that that is true, but because that's what their enclosed media bubbles are telling them. And it's like, that's part of the reason we're having so much trouble discoursing with these people. You saw that a little bit when I talked to, what's her name? That OnlyFans model, Jasmine, when I was talking to her. And one of the big hangups of our discussion was I insisted that men and women were different. And she said that they weren't. And it's like, okay, well, that's a material fact about reality that we're just disagreeing on. And one of them is true and one of them is not. So, but I have to act like their opinion, which is based on things that do not exist in reality, is equal to mine, even though one of us has opinions that are based in reality and one of us doesn't. And that's what's fucked up, is because there are arguments against my position that factor in facts about material reality. I'm not right about everything. But we have to agree on what the facts about material reality are. And if we got one side that's trying to extrapolate from facts about material reality and one side that's just making shit up as they go along, then we're going to have a serious fucking problem. We're have a serious fucking problem. Let's look out. Let's check in with the chat. Iron Oxide, reach out to Ethan. He might be able to help with that. Iron Oxide, friend of the show. Check out Ironcast. That's going to be airing tonight. Ironcast. And then check out the Rogues Gallery this Saturday. That's a very, very good show. Buy appear on both of those shows. Very good shows. Ironcast, more of a news show. Fucking, what's the Rogues Gallery? More of a pop culture panel discussion show. A lot of fun. But yeah, I'll check in with you. I would actually love to get somebody, one of the January Sixers on this show, just to like try to figure out what happened. And I got to get more left-wing people on the show. That's the other thing too. I want more feminists. I want more strippers. I got to get the goth chicks on the show. We got to see one of those goth chicks go on the show. But here's the thing. I don't want just like random bimbos on the show. No offense to goth chicks. Shout out to random bimbos. We love you guys. But I think what made the Jasmine interview interesting and compelling was she's an intellectual. Like, she's not just a pair of tits. Like, she's an intellectual. So, and that was kind of how she was marketing herself. So, in fact, I think she mentioned, this annoyed the audience, but she mentioned that she deliberately did not wear makeup so that I wasn't distracted by her beauty. That pissed off the audience. Shout out to the 4%. I love you guys. I know the women in my audience hated her, but I liked her. I thought she was nice. The only reason they're saying he was MAGA is because he's white, and that's insane. Yeah, I think that is probably part of it. I think that's why I didn't understand that either, but I think Strider's making an important point here. Like, the emphasis on race serves to delineate him as he's on the bad team. And this is why I'm saying, so this is why white identity politics is on the rise on the right. And it's not the people in my audience, generally speaking, who are doing this. So when I say that, I feel bad because I know a lot of you guys have been called racist erroneously. That's true, but there is such a thing as the racist right. That does exist, and it's mostly young and male and full of energy, and they've been just told to shut the fuck up, and they've been beaten down and beaten down and beaten down so much that they're really pissed and they want their get back. That's real. And you meet them. It's like, I don't know. It's like I meet a lot of them because I'm also a safe person for them to talk to, and I kind of can peek into their echo chambers because of websites like X or whatever. Like, there's online spaces where folks hang out, and I'm only on the very periphery of that. I can just kind of peek in at like the spillover. I'm kind of have a foot in both worlds. Like, I have a foot in like normie conservative Twitter. I have a foot in like left-wing Twitter, and I have a foot in like racist Twitter. And I'm just kind of like peeking around, and I'm kind of a lurker. I don't post much. I'm kind of a lurker, but it is there, and that is downstream of the left. And Jordan Peterson warned about this in like 2015. I personally, just myself, have been talking about it since like 2018. There is a significant contingent on the left that is insisting on looking at everything through the lens of race and gender and all this stuff and identity. And they don't want to have substantive policy discussions. And if they don't like your opinion, they'll say, shut up, you're just a white man, whatever. There's this great Sam Hyde video where it's like, if you're a minority and I disagree with you, you think I'm going to argue with you? No, you're getting called a slur. Just funny. It's because that's the go-to low IQ response. But we don't say that when the left does it. When the left does it, it's dressed up like intellectualism. It's like, check your privilege because you're just white, so you don't know anything, is intellectualism. But if you say, shut up, and you call somebody an ethnic slur, you say, oh, you're just black, so you're low IQ, you don't know anything or whatever. Like, if you say that, then that's rightly rejected as being kind of like a low IQ, refusing to engage with the substance of the argument, not a good response. And people like in my audience are not, not the people who are supporting that. But there's a contingent of the right that is young, very active online, terminally online, who is engaged in woke tactics because they're effective, and they're using woke tactics to spread the message, and they're using woke reasoning tools to arrive at conclusions about the world. And the consequences of woke tools, here's the thing. I'm not saying it does lead to violence, but using woke tools, it's very easy to justify violence. Why? Because you create a racial hierarchy. You say this group is better than this group. So it undermines this Christian presupposition that all humans are made in the image of God and all humans are entitled to basic human dignity. That's a Christian presupposition, and it's also a presupposition that's foundational to the way we interpret rights here in the United States, right? So woke reasoning says, no, different people have different values according to their race. And once you start playing that game, and we know this from, the post-war South was a society that was completely obsessed with race. And you see how horrible that is, right? Like it's just absolutely completely obsessed with racial hierarchy. Once you have a society that doubles down on racial hierarchy, it makes it super easy to justify horrible treatment of people. Because once you get away from this idea that all humans are made in the image of God, so every human is entitled to basic human dignity, that puts a ceiling on how shitty you can be to people. Even your enemies. And if you are untethered from that idea and you just become obsessed with race, then that's not good. Because then it's like there's us and there's them. And if you're not on my team, you can. And I totally agree with you guys. The left started it. The left started it for sure. They were the ones who were pushing that narrative. And so there is this segment of the right that's kind of responding to it. And I understand it's not visible to everybody yet. Like, I see it because I'm interested in weird stuff like that. So I see it and I'm like, ruh-roh. Like, I remember, like, if you told me in 2009 that the weird gender goblins on Tumblr were going to dominate the mainstream of Democrat politics, I would have said you were out of your mind. And yet that, I think we all agree, that went way further than any of us ever expected, right? And it did it because we insisted on being nice. And the other thing too is that they hide a kernel of truth and then they cover it in a dog turd and then they try to make you eat it. It's like, no, I have this kernel of corn here, this kernel of truth. It is true, for instance, that Black Americans have been treated unfairly historically. That is true. And then they cover it in this dog turd of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then they try to make you eat it. And it's rude. And a bunch of us have been raised to believe if you're at somebody's house and they serve you food, it's rude not to eat it. So a bunch of us ate the dog turd just to be nice. And that's not good. That's not good. We have to be able to say fucking no. And that may at some point require us to say no to people ostensibly on our side. So that's something that I'm never going to stop bringing it up. I know that's not the main thing we're focusing on right now, but I spent the first hour and a half of the show shitting on leftists. So I can't end the show without bringing up the fact that there is a racist problem on the right. Let me check in with the channel before I go, because it's been good talking to you guys. I'm going to be wrapping up the show soon. Full Metal Nate. Wait, AOC is after me? Yes, buddy. Yes, buddy. Short Kings are under attack, so I had to stand up for the community a little bit. What's up, man? A Full Metal Nate, friend of the channel. Hey, make sure to check out Curse of Strahd over on Full Metal Nate's channel. I'm in that. It's a D&D campaign. I'm in that. I play in that. So make sure to go check that out. All right, guys. It's been real. I'm going to be wrapping things up. Just a reminder, my name is Theo Snodgrass. I'm a comedian and podcaster out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I do a show called Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. That's Saturdays, 11 a.m. Go ahead and check that out. I also do this show, Theocracy, is my solo show, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. We're going to be trying to bump that up to a more frequent show. The goal is to get that show up to 5 days a week. Right now, we're doing 2. I just got to get better at making the show. I got to get better at like farming content, stuff like that. Got to get better at knowing the stuff that I want to talk about and get better at making shows because I want this show to be entertaining for you guys because I do it for you guys. I'm not doing this for my benefit. I'm doing this for you guys. So I want to create a show that you guys think is valuable. By the way, people who want to give me ideas of stuff to talk about, send stuff to my Twitter DMs. My Twitter DMs are full. I have this is how I know I have the most intelligent audience on the internet. I know everybody in my audience is top 25% IQ because of the messages that I get from people who watch the show. Just today, I know that this Saturday's Touch Grass is going to be on the female gooner epidemic because of messages that I get from people who watch the show. That's where a lot of my topics come. That's how I know what you guys want me to talk about. So if we have questions that need to get answered, I still do, relationship questions. We've kind of been doing a lot of politics lately because that's what has been driving engagement. But if we want to do relationship questions, stuff like that, if we want to do, the men are like this, women are like that stuff, we still are going to do that. The show's still finding its legs, still finding its identity. So go ahead and send me questions that you have about stuff that's happening in real life. And because that's honestly what I think the focus needs to be. It's like as much fun as it is to talk about politics and how crazy the world is right now and how cathartic it is. I think it's cathartic for people to hear that and to realize they're not alone, realize they're not crazy. But at the end of the day, I do think we should spend a lot of our time focusing on the stuff right in front of us that we can actually control. What can we do to make our lives better in the real world? That's where I want to put my focus. That's where I want to put the show. Roguish Nerd, friend of the channel. Where do babies come from? Your mother's butt. That's where babies come from. You're welcome. Take it easy. All right. So yeah, like I said, my name is Theo Snodgrass. Come watch this show Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Also watch my other show, Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. That's a panel show. Come meet all my friends. That's 11 a.m. On Saturdays. Also tonight, I'm going to be with Iron Oxide over on his channel with doing Ironcast. And then on Saturday's a big day because we got Touch Grass in the morning. And then right after that, or shortly after that, I have Rogues Gallery on its new time on Saturdays. And then right after that, I have insert title here on Drunken Emerald Arrow's channel. So if you can have a whole day you can hang out with me for a whole day. Some people that would be a nightmare. For others of you, that could be a dream come true. It'd be a lot of fun. So anyways, it's gonna be great. Go ahead, make sure to tune in that tonight. If you want to see me do live comedy, this Friday, I'm going to be at Planet Hollywood Hotel Resort and Casino. That'll be my first show ever on the Strip. I'm very excited about that. So come check that out this Friday if you happen to be in Las Vegas. It's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, I didn't expect that at all, but that is something that's happening and that I am doing. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So anyways, guys, please enjoy the outro to this show, which is the intro to my other show, a little advertisement to my other show, Touch Grass with Theo Snodgrass. All right, take it away.
Johnson crack look good. Well, look at my crack. No. Look at that crack.
Are we looking at Arz's cat now?
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear a damn thing you said.
All right.
And because I was a gazillionaire and I like doing it so much, I cut that price for free.
Species is dying. The birth rate is plummeting. Women are chopped. But yeah, you know what? Get a fucking cat.
I know even more about grass.